So yeah, we've slowly but surely building our California program as well. And, this is one of our first endeavors to really, step out loud and proud and start shaping and some more programming and sharing what we've been up to these last couple of months and years as well. So the title for today is called Parks, Policy, and People Securing Outdoor Equity for California's Latino Communities. Um, for folks of us here in the state, it's no secret that the Latino community and also um, innovative leadership on park policy have been two of the things that characterize California and make it really special as well. And so the whole goal of this conversation today is to highlight what we've been doing, identify some more threats that are now being faced by the Latino community and the conservation community, and highlight folks here in the state working from local farmers markets to our national public lands, and highlighting the different intersections, how all these different issues affect us all. So if we can maybe go to the next slide for our agenda, I'll let everyone know what's happening today. We'll do a quick introduction. I'll be spending the first 10 or 15 minutes setting the stage for our speakers. And then our featured speakers today are Andres Sanchez, Margarita Lopez Pelayo, and Erica Montelongo, and we'll have a short section for questions. We'll close, and we'll do all this by the 1 p.m. hour, so let you all, continue your adventures for the day. But if we go to the next slide, I want to introduce myself for folks who might not be familiar with me. My name is Pedro Hernandez. I'm the California State Program Manager here at Green Latinos, and I'm have lived in California my whole life. I'm based in the beautiful city of Fresno on Yokuts land, and for the last 10 or 11 years, I've been working on different environmental justice and conservation policy. Um, uh, as we've kind of confronted like some of the most challenging issues of our time, right? Climate change, historic racism, divestment, and the legacies therein as well. And so here at Green Latinos, we're a coordinator. So we have a large network nationwide and in the state of different environmentalists, different municipality workers, different folks. We have scientists and other researchers as well too that are all interested in improving the conditions of the Latino community and the environment we all rely on. And also we're an advocacy organization, right? So we help resource municipalities and different organizations that are doing urban greening work, but also coordinate advocacy on the state, local, and federal level as well. So most of the issues that we're going to be talking about today are all things that we some way, shape, or form are engaging in to try to address. And again, welcome for some of the folks who are joining us late. Next slide. And so for today's big picture, as I mentioned earlier, we want to highlight that despite years of innovative policies that and continued political support, California's progress on park equity are now threatened by a new confluence of threats. Primarily, it's can be characterized from one bucket from the Trump administration, but also there's been a couple of different challenges specific to California that we'll be highlighting. And again, by emphasizing the Latino community, we'll be deepening understanding of different pressures faced by California's largest ethnic group, but also expanding the traditional framing of what park access and equity has meant historically as well too. So this is a picture of Chicano Park down in San Diego, which is a really interesting cultural and historic site that's also right under a highway, and a nationally significant historic site as well. So, this is just emblematic of some of the other big things that we'll be talking about today. But let's keep going and head over to the next slide. So again, as I mentioned, our speakers, Andres Sanchez is the Community Engagement and Conservation Policy Manager with the organization CalWild. Margarita Lopez Pelayo is the Advocacy and Organizing Manager for LA Nature for All. And Erica is the South LA Regional Coordinator for LA Compost. And so, as I mentioned earlier, we wanted to have a really engaging conversation on the different levels of green spaces and the different levels of work that are affected by these challenges. Next slide. And so let's get into it, everybody. What do we mean by park equity? This is a kind of Green Latinos definition, Pedro definition. But generally, we mean equal access to resilient green spaces that benefit people, wildlife, and ecosystem health. So rather than just focus on a specific definition of a national monument or a specific definition of a school park, as two of the kind of main zeitgeists might imply, we just want to make sure it's every green area that includes benefits for these three large buckets. And part of the definition here is to recognize that whether you're in an urban or rural setting, that we are all on nature and we are all in nature and part of nature. And from the equity side of things, we mean intentional policies to remedy historic pollution, but also green space disparities as well that I'll be getting into. So we mean proactive actions to heal the land and restore people's cultural and physical connections to these green spaces. Next slide. And so this is actually a really interesting way to start things off. I did a quick Google Ngram search of park equity and park access. And the main idea of this slide is to just demonstrate that these are relatively new terms in society. And again, this is mostly off of online databases, but you can see starting kind of from the 1920s, early 1930s, you see a sharp uptick in park access as the national park system was like really getting underway and we're creating lots of new conservation areas. But the park equity side of things is actually something that begins to peak in the 1980s, but we see a sharp increase in the 2010s as well. So that's all to say, like, this conversation is not new, but we are in one of the heights historically of these discourses. Next slide. And so in terms of like the Latino demographics of California, I wanted to include a slide here to help, again, build more understanding of the different challenges and kind of contours of this discussion. So right now, about 40% of California's population is Latino. Latino families earn about 50 cents for every dollar that white families earn. And while Latinos are 40% of the overall population, they are roughly 56% of the total K through 12 student population. So there is like a general like younger component of the Latino community. We're also more likely to be uninsured despite high workforce participation. And from 2010 to 2020, 74% of the California census tract saw Latino population growth. So, and we also face high levels of cumulative burden. So this is, we focus on the Latino community, but really this is a statewide discussion here and for a community that has multiple vulnerabilities. And I think some of the lessons here can be easily applicable to other communities. Next slide, though. So the nature gap has been another big kind of buzzword that describes this general lack of access to green spaces. And according to the Nature Gap report, which was released in 2020, it like pretty forcefully demonstrated that Latino communities in the United States generally suffer from least access to forests, streams, wetlands, and other natural areas compared to other groups in the country. Also, of particular note, Latino families with children live in nature-deprived areas more than any other demographic. And 55% of Latinos reside in nature-deprived census tracts here in California. So this is something that not only affects Latinos throughout the United States, but generally in California, and a majority of the Latino population also face nature deprivation. Next slide. But that is all to say, things have not been hopeless, and there has been a lot of really important and notable progress that I do want to highlight, at least in passing, before we go in more depth in these issues in another webinar in a couple of months. But in terms of state initiatives, California has advanced the Outdoors for All initiative, which is an initiative recognizing this nature gap and supporting funding programs and actually green sites to like increase access. We have the 30 by 30 initiative, which is a goal to conserve 30% of our lands and waters by the year 2030 to address the biodiversity and climate crisis while increasing access to nature. And we also, the California voters passed Proposition 4, which is going to unleash billions of dollars for environmental and conservation projects. So, you know, California was one of the only states to pass a proposition for the environment. So we're in a really unique spot to double down on these commitments. Over the last year or so, there's also been new national monuments, like in Chuckwalla in Southern California, San Gabriel in the LA region, and also Satilla in Northern California. So on top of the creation of like school parks and local parks, we're also adding acreage to some of the highest forms of nature protection that we have in the country. There's also been a new state park. The newest state park in over a decade was here in the San Joaquin Valley. It's called Dos Rios State Park and is actually reclaimed farmland. There's also been a historic expansion of use for sites for cultural events and community activations. And there's also been increasing legislation for school greening, extreme heat, and land restoration. So aside from this huge need, we've also been experiencing a lot of different initiatives and efforts to close the nature gap and expand access. But next slide. That's not the theme of today, though. We are focused on threats here. So if we can get that next slide, Cumbia, I think I'll begin pivoting to that. And so, again, there's a new confluence. It's partly or largely colored by our new political universe, right? And so California has experienced a state budget shortfall of several billions of dollars. So a lot of the initiatives that have been set forth just generally have less resources. There's been increasing federal rollbacks and different environmental attacks where they're slashing environmental agency staff and also accelerating climate change through their deregulatory actions. And we're also seeing increased immigration enforcement. And specifically, and as the speakers will address, and as I'll get into in the next couple of slides, these raids are targeting open spaces like like parks, but just generally all other open spaces as well. Next slide. And again, this is a very in a nutshell explanation here for the tax on public lands. But as you can see here, most of our public lands are in the western part of the country, and lots of them are in California, right? They support access, they support critical ecosystem services. And so again, as I mentioned, we're facing environmental rollbacks, potential threats for public land sell-offs that were maybe defeated earlier this year, but not completely eliminated. There's more mandated oil and gas leasing, increased coal leasing, and increased logging and timber sales. So the same areas that are supporting a resilient ecosystem and climate action are under attack. So if these initiatives are to advance the ecosystem services that our lands and nature provide and wildlife provide, are at threat for being significantly reduced, which will exacerbate more biodiversity loss and climate impacts. Next slide. And again, as I mentioned, right, part of the reason why we're focusing here on California is because California has been a laboratory for the Trump administration to advance their immigration tactics. And as I mentioned earlier, they are targeting green spaces, which affects community safety and is also an intentional strategy. And so on the left here, you have a surprise ICE raid at MacArthur Park. On the right, you see increasing ICE raids in the agricultural fields where the largely Latino workforce is feeding America. And also, we're seeing more of these stories throughout the country. And the bottom right just indicates one of many news stories where ICE agents have approached members of a youth baseball team in Manhattan to begin interrogating children. So this is California specific, but really the lessons I feel are can be readily extrapolated to other parts of the country, especially as the immigration actions continue. Next slide. And also, we're seeing a lot of immigration enforcement on our public lands along the border. And so this is something throughout the whole US-Mexico border where the administration is taking executive actions to seize public lands, remove their environmental protections, and allow for more military activities. And so there's a bill called the Flash Act, which is authored by a representative in Arizona, but would generally open up our most protected lands for immigration enforcement. But also here on the right, you see Friendship Park, which is an area here in along the California-US-Mexico border. That's one of the historic sites for the border wall, but also for cultural and green space activities to connect people across this the border here. And next slide. I think I'm almost done here. And yeah, I couldn't not have this conversation without addressing one more executive order, which is the MABA order, Making America Beautiful Again. And this has other components, but specifically for the nexus of parks and the Latino community, this executive order will seek to offset the budget cuts that I mentioned earlier by increasing park entry fees only to non-residents. And so this we don't know the specific numbers yet, but this will exacerbate the cost accessibility concerns that often are one barrier for folks accessing these lands. But it's also going to increase the likelihood of ID checks and citizen verification at national park entrances. And so this is potentially a weaponization of our most protected lands for an anti-immigrant agenda. Which also could potentially lead to more ICE presence on our parks as well. So again, it's there have been multiple different ways that this administration has kind of like made an anti-Latino agenda intersect with park and green spaces. And, historically, it always hasn't been as clear, but I think what our speakers here are going to pretty forcefully communicate are the different ways that this is impacting our Latino community, our general community here in California, but also highlight some of the work that they're doing to maintain resiliency and support continued access to these critical areas. All this progress has happened because Californians want more parks. Californians want our communities to be safe, and we want a healthy environment. And so we're at a crossroads here. We're going to see a lot of how things play out in the continued months. And I think for Green Latinos California, we're going to continue to have webinars on this very same issue following these changes. But I want to just put things together in one more slide before I pass things to our panelists here. So what does this all mean, right? Starting from the left, we have different pins that highlight different state parks here in California. You can see where some of the gaps are at. For the 30 by 30 initiative that I mentioned earlier, we're 5 years until 2030, and the shaded areas indicate where our conservation, the highest forms of conservation are in California. But with this Cal EnviroScreen 4.0 graphic, the more red and yellow the areas are, the more cumulative pollution and climate burdens and poverty burdens that communities face. So you can see that it's largely the San Joaquin Valley, not exclusively, but also really significant parts of Southern California. And on the right, you see where the demographic growth for the Latino community has taken place. So in summary, we have a growing Latino community that is facing continued cumulative environmental burdens, but is also living in some of the least protected areas and the most nature deprived areas here in the state. So while we have lots of funding and initiatives happening, we're we're at the previously mentioned crossroads where we can continue this progress or it can take several steps back. And I think what I'll do next is actually pass it over to Andre Sanchez. So I'm queuing you up, Andre, to start highlighting some of the good work that Cal Wild is doing. And, I think part of the reason why we still have so much progress to hold on to is because of our amazing speakers and the communities they all represent. So thank you so much. I know that was a lot of information, but I wanted to set as good a stage as possible for our speakers. So I think maybe if we go to the next slide is a title card for you, Andre, but then the mic is yours. And again, thanks everyone for being here.
Yeah, no, thank you, Pedro. I'll do general intro, though Pedro already did that for me. My name is Andre Sanchez, he, him, male pronouns. I am the Community Engagement and Conservation Policy Manager with Cal Wild. I wear many other hats, but here primarily representing that role. Actually, born and raised in the same region as Pedro. The county just north of Fresno, that doesn't quite maybe get as much attention, but is just as equally as awesome and important. Madera County, and the city seat, Madera, California, is where I was born and raised. Um, oh God, there's so much that just is coming up right now. Pedro was going through some of that. Pardon me for a second if I have to slow down and just kind of, reground myself. Um, yeah, so there's a lot of different issues that I guess I'll start off by saying that Cal Wild works on. I'll try to give like the broad, picture as to what Cal Wild is and what we have done and what we do currently. So for folks who are not familiar, Cal Wild has been around since the 70s. We are a very small but mighty organization, as I have often described. We work statewide, so literally from, California, Oregon border all the way down to the uh, Mexico, US border and over, to the desert side. Uh, we primarily focus as an organization on federally managed lands. So that largely focuses on the the U.S. Forest Service, the Bureau of Land Management, and a little bit of the National Park Service. As Pedro mentioned, with some of the historical use of buzzwords, National Park Service has more often been the agency that has gathered attention. I think a lot of people know who the U.S. Forest Service is, but the Bureau of Land Management has been a little bit less known. But they actually have a lot of land out here in California and out west, broadly speaking. Um, the original bread and butter for Cal Wild is getting wilderness designations under the Wilderness Act of 1976, which is arguably the highest level of protections that is offered in the country. And essentially, I'm pretty sure people have heard of certain places like Big Sur or, well, Yosemite, broadly speaking, is pretty much all wilderness, under its like general name, the Yosemite Wilderness. But many other places as well, including like in Northwest California, so like in Humboldt County, Trinity County, over towards Mount Shasta area, and down in the San Diego, LA region. So definitely a lot of different places that Cal Wild has been involved in trying to protect. But beyond wilderness, we also help try to get an equal type of protection for streams, which is under the Wild and Scenic Rivers Act. So a stream can be protected under as a wild or scenic river or recreational river, technically. And I'll try not to get too down in the weeds about it, but it's the equivalent of saying like a river or stream is protected as like a wildernessy place. And additionally, and Pedro kind of mentioned some of this, there are national monuments, which can be managed by different federal entities like the Park Service, Bureau of Land Management, Forest Service. Um, and one of them that we most recently helped support and get the protection for, and it was a tribally led effort, is the Satitla Highlands National Monument, which is around the Mount Shasta area. A little bit further south from that, and before that effort, and there's one more in the desert I'll mention in a second. But there's the Berryessa Snow Mountain National Monument as well. Um, More recently, there was an expansion of that national monument, and that national monument is managed by the U.S. Forest Service and Bureau of Land Management together. But there was an edition called the Malakloyak, which in the Patwin language means Condor Ridge. And that was another effort that was largely tribally supported and essentially led, but with many partners, including Cow Wild. Um, in any case, different national monuments, and the last one I'll mention is down in the desert, which is Chuckwalla National Monument. And in particular, I want to bring Chuckwalla up because it kind of opens up a little bit more of the conversation as to like how are we engaging with the community and how is this impacting our work, and us figuring out like how are we going to continue to show up as an organization and as leaders. With Chuckwalla, long story short, even before that national monument effort, there was a lot of other protection efforts that were happening on these federally managed lands, and the job could not have been done, just plainly said, without the Latino community. Um, and actually just going a little bit north of that in the San Gabriel Mountains, and I'll let Margarita talk about that when she's up, but. That was an effort that Cal Wild has been a part of, and that could not have been done without the Latin community either. Um, One big thing I do want to really emphasize here, because this is something that Kyle Wild has really tried to be a, a part of, since I've been around for the almost 6 years that I've been with the organization, is we really try to navigate the space and be bridge builders between the land management agencies and the local partners and communities. Um, in particular, I bring that up because oftentimes these federal land management agencies like the Forest Service and the Bureau of Land Management always say we need local partnership, we need local support, we need volunteers to help us do trail work, and they very much do. We need folks who are going to show up to help us switch out these old signs and to do like litter pickup events. Um, but in this current time that we're living in, it is very difficult to have partners from the Latin community want to show up because they do not feel safe, to go outside in the first place, let alone to drive anywhere where they don't know what's literally waiting for them. Um, so that said, these agencies, as they continue to be stripped away of their staff, of their funding, of their resources, are going to be impacted. The lands are going to be impacted. And ultimately, as Pedro pointed out, right, when you have nature deprived areas and people were already having to go far away to these places to try to access these locations, and now they can't even safely access them, and they're not only from the part where who knows what's waiting for them, but for example, if there's overridden trash, that attracts wildlife, and sometimes wildlife aren't approachable, right? So if you're on a trail, you want to be careful, and there are relatives, but we also have to be conscious of how they interact with us. Um, if there's emergency services that are required, like if there's all of a sudden, a search and rescue operation that needs to happen, well, if there's not a federal agency that can, manage those situations, then how are people going to even feel safe wanting to go to these places in that regard, right? Um, I think one other key piece I really just want to mention is just and actually, if you don't mind going back to the map screen for a second, and I want to bring this up as an example because it was interesting to actually see this map as it coincides with one of the bullet points I had written down for myself. If you look, on Northeast or Northwest California, I think folks, might be familiar with the nickname of the Emerald Triangle, right? Mendocino, Trinity, and Humboldt County. But Northwest California as a whole, um, some of the counties that are incorporated there are Mendocino, Trinity, Humboldt, Downor, and I wrote Mendocino twice. Um, and there's a huge Latino population that's growing there. Where the overlap is with some of the work that Catwild does is there's a wilderness and wild and scenic river bill that we've been working on for over a decade. And in those counties that I named off, broadly speaking, and I hate this term, but this is obviously how the government identifies, the Hispanic population is the second highest ethnic group across those counties that I just mentioned. So in this place where there's this wilderness bill, where there's these impacts to this community, with this community that has the second highest demographic, how do you expect them again to show up, to want to care, to be advocates, to be able to connect, to be healthy, to access these places if they're not feeling safe? And again, it really tears apart that partnership and that opportunity for not only the agencies to receive support, but also just community to gather, simply said. So I know that was a lot, and I know I have to wrap up. So hopefully that was a little bit insightful for folks in terms of, the broader context of some of the work that we're doing over at Cal Wild and that I do with a lot of these partners here. So I appreciate your time, and if anyone has any, questions for me, I'm sure that they'll share our info or feel free to message me and I'll share that on the back end. So thank you, folks.
Yeah, thank you, Andre. Um, it's a funny story. Me and Andre were doing an event where we took some families camping where that picture was that picture of the red shirt was taken. So we go way back. But if we can go to the next slide, Gumbia, I want to pass it over to Margarita as well too. Are you here, Margarita? Yes. Yeah, I see you coming in and out.
There
Take,
we
yeah, take it away. You have
Yeah,
the mic.
yeah, Pedro. We were out in the field, and I didn't get to send you my slides, but if you let me share screen, I had a couple of slides that I wanted to share. But yeah, so hi everyone. My name is Margarita Lopez Pelayo. I'm the advocacy and organizing manager for Nature for All, and I am located in the Tabian land in the San Fernando Valley. So still part of LA County, more towards the outskirts, but still very much part of LA. And so I'm gonna go ahead and, if it's okay, I'm gonna share. And I just want to say, thank you for having me, and I hope that I can share a little bit about what we're experiencing in LA. So again, Nature for All, a little bit about Nature for All. We are a newer organization compared to some of our, our national orgs here present. Our mission is to build a diverse base of support to ensure that everyone in LA area has equitable access to wide range of benefits which nature provides. We're committed to building support to protect, create access to our forests, rivers, and parks, and develop a new diverse generation of environmental leaders and stewards who can connect to and care for our public lands. And so, Nature for All, uh, you know, uh, we have grown in the last couple years, but we have focused on protecting, creating, and connecting folks. Our service area right now is very LA based, but we service the San Fernando Valley, the San Gabriel Valley, and the Southeast LA area. And these are just some of the neighborhoods that we are. And as you can see, it's areas that are very much in need of green spaces. And for those reasons, we make efforts to take people to the outdoors, a lot of times for the very first time, to the mountains, to the beach. And so we began as a coalition, you might know us best from our work regarding the San Gabriel Mountains National Monument efforts. Nature for All was instrumental alongside our coalition partners, some of which are here. But we were able to, with the efforts of our coalition partners and with the efforts of our embajadoras and promotoras. And like Andre had mentioned earlier, like it was very much also the efforts of the Latino community who reside in the surrounding area of the San Gabriel Mountains, who put in a lot of work to collect petitions, letters of support, gave public comment to make this happen, right? And to have President Obama establish the San Gabriel Mountains a national monument. That carry on with the expansion of the monument with where President Biden expanded the San Gabriel Mountains National Monument. And again, we were able to see how it was a joint effort. It was a community coming together, and I got to see firsthand how youth and how Um, I want to show you a picture here. How youth were very much involved. A lot of the local community, the schools, the teachers, and our embajadoras were behind these efforts. But today I wanted to share a little bit about what's going on in LA regarding immigration rates. So I have this slide here by a report that was shared by Chirla. And there's been 471 confirmed ICE operations in the greater LA area, just between June 6th to July 20th. This is something that in the last couple months we've been seeing full force happening in our communities. The number one target with the highest number of ICE operations occur in our communities with the majority of Hispanic or Latino population has been Panorama City. It's one of our service areas. What's going on? Service areas, which has 42% Latino community. And so that has led to an immense level of fear in our communities to go out for basic needs such as grocery shopping, picking up medicine, and definitely like kids not visiting the parks right now. Uh, and a lot of kids skipped summer camp because summer camps happen at our local parks. So we've been hearing a lot from our ambassadors in our community that due to the immigration rates, the Latino community is taking the safe way and not leaving home. And so this is something that a few weeks back, Nature for All, as a trusted agent in our community, received credible information from a credible source that ICE was seen in the Angeles National Forest on June 30th. And it was something that definitely made us feel incredibly sad because it was it was right before 4th of July weekend. And so people were, those that were starting to build courage to be like, like maybe we'll be safe, right? It's 4th of July. Maybe we could go to the river and find relief from the excessive heat in our communities. But that didn't happen, right? And we felt inclined and we felt the responsibility to let our community know that we have received this information and allow people to make a informed decision whether to visit or not the Angeles Forest during the long weekend. We received information from the Forest Service that they had never seen such a like empty long weekend where all the different areas that you usually get overflow of people, where they have a hard time in keeping up, right, with the number of people visiting. That was not the case. That was not the case. Most areas didn't even get filled because there is a sense of concern and fear of being racially profiled and being kidnapped, being taken by ICE, right? And so we're experiencing, right? This is some pictures of some of the families and some of the Latino community that we work with when we visited, the monument area, San Gabriel Mountains. And so, as you can see here, there's a lot of joy, there's a lot of healing that nature brings, and we are very much aware of the benefits that Latino community receive when exposed to nature, right? The Latino community, I'm not gonna, remind folks, but like Latino community is more at risk of, you know, diabetes, obesity, high blood pressure, and even we saw after COVID, right? Like that there was mental health is something that the Latino community struggles with, right? Depression, anxiety, stress, right? And so since immigration rates began in our communities, we have seen a decline in participation on folks being able to just feel safe and free in the outdoors. There's very much the same families, the same youth that at one point were instrumental in helping us expand the monument, establish the monument, right? And so, um, you know, I work alongside with our ambassadors, and I hear firsthand what they're experiencing, and I think their fears are valid, right? Because I want to share a specific story. One of our ambassadors, who's very much always been active in helping us advocate for public land and for the environment. She has a grandson, and she shared how this young man, like refuses to even go out to throw the trash. And his rationale is like, I'm brown, um, they could take, it will take me. So I refuse to go out. Like the level of fear is completely sad and unacceptable for youth, brown boys to be experiencing, and they're, suffering trauma due to this. And so um, I know that in conversation with people out of state or even out of the county, a lot of times when I share these stories, they kind of look at me like, what? Like, I don't know about that. I don't know if that's really happening, right? And when I have shared that a close friend to me was picked up and taken, and unfortunately, he was denied access to his lawyer for 3 days, and he was a U.S. citizen. He is a U.S. citizen, and so this is kind of what we're living right now. Um, we had to make modifications to our programming because the last field trip that I had organized, it was my first time ever in my my time of long time organizing, that I had a bus half empty. A lot of the people who had confirmed for a trip to the San Gabriel Mountains just changed their mind last minute because they were so afraid of having an encounter with ice. This is something that Nature for All definitely feels strong about. We feel that everyone deserves to enjoy nature and enjoy the benefits of nature. And so, yeah, I just want to encourage folks to be informed and to remember that we're all one with nature. And right now, we're experiencing is an attack on an sensitive community, right, and endanger human beings. And so we must be really good allies and remember that the backbone and a lot of the efforts and movements to protect public land has been the Latino community. So um, and that's pretty much it. I think I'm out of time, but thank you, everybody.
Yeah. Thank you, Margarita. Those were some powerful stories there, and definitely a good testament to how Nature for All is really leading the way down in LA. But I think we're ready for our next speaker. And so Cumbia, if you can actually pull up Erica's other presentation, I think that's what we need right now. But Erica, the floor is yours. So while we're pulling that up, take it away.
Cool. Thank you so much. My name is Erika Montelongo, and just in deep gratitude for being able to be a part of this webinar. And yeah, just want to also say thanks to the speakers previous to me. Very impactful work, and you guys are doing amazing. And yeah, so yes, my name is Erika Montelongo. I am born and raised in South Central Los Angeles, also called South LA. I have been a part of LA Compost team for the past 5 years, and my role at LA Compost is I am the South LA regional coordinator, and I basically oversee and help to coordinate anything that really happens within our region, and that includes overseeing our composting hubs, our farmers markets, and any regional like specific events. So that's a little bit about me, and we can go to the next slide. So just a little bit about us. LA Compost's mission is to restore the lost connections to the soil and to one another. At LA Compost, we create compost out of food scraps, and with that, we are able to enrich the soils of different community members that go throughout Los Angeles. So we started around 2013 and started off in bikes, and now we're this like decentralized network where we reach out to Northeast LA, the Valley, South LA, and that encompasses different compost hubs, farmers markets, and park hubs. Go to the next slide. So South LA region, this is a region I hold near and dear to my heart. Like I mentioned, I was born and raised here. My parents migrated here like around the 80s. So my heart really belongs here. And just a big shout out to the staff that also work with me. Without them, I feel like the work that we do here in this region would not be possible, which we're also like a women of color led group. So it's so amazing to be able to work with other powerful women. So within our region, we oversee different farmers markets, community compost hubs that are in high schools, middle schools. At the farmers markets, you can find me or any of our other staff members encouraging folks to, drop off their food scraps. When I'm at the Central Avenue Farmers Market, my favorite hook to tell my Latino folks is like, hey, you can like drop off your burnt tortillas or your pan dulce that kind of got a little stiff in that brown bag. Like, it doesn't have to be thrown away. You can drop it off, and we can make some compost into it. So it's always nice to be able to have like a cultural connection to the community that you serve. And then we're at the compost hubs where people can drop off their food scraps, and where all the food scraps that we collect from the farmers markets go. So in a week, we can divert easily over 1,000 pounds a week of food. And this is our main access point for community members to come and enjoy green spaces. Like Margarita mentioned, like it's also not only a place where people can come and volunteer and, sign up and be a part of like our activities, but also a place where they can decompress, be themselves. Sometimes even like, you don't even have to come and sign up and volunteer. If you just want to hang out under this shaded tree, you can do that. And I feel like it also bridges culture identity with the food that is being grown in these urban spaces. So like maize, squash, it really helps our community connect to our compost hubs in a very deeper way. So they're able to enjoy the space, pick up some compost if they like, connect with community. And my favorite thing is like when neighbors didn't know they were neighbors, and then they get to build like this really solid friendship. And it's really cool that they tell each other about our events. I feel like that's the type of connection we strive to see through our networks. And go to the next slide. So Central Avenue Farmers Market is the farmers market that I help to oversee. I've been managing this market for the past 5 years, I want to say. And again, it's very near and dear to my heart. I grew up in that area. I grew up taking the bus downtown and passing by. So I really appreciate all the hard work our market manager does to keep this market up and running, rain or shine, and providing fresh fruit and vegetable access to our community. Over the past months, the ongoing ICE raids have been really heavy in Los Angeles and predominantly in Latino communities, creating an atmosphere of uncertainty and, fear. These raids have really had a visible impact on our operations. For example, we've had to, just cancel events just to be mindful of people's safety. Markets have been closed. So during this time, Central Avenue Market was suspended from operating. I think they were closed for like about 2 weeks, and then they got the green light to run bring back their operations. And we are a part of the CD9 office, so we were able to be inside of their plaza. So the market manager was able to move everybody inside and accommodate the farmers, the vendors, because this is how they make their living. So we definitely understood that there was limited capacity for us to be there. So we were not there for a couple of weeks due to that lack of space. However, we still flyered, we still let people know like, hey, we're not going to be here like momentarily, but you can always come and join us at one of our community hubs. We're still there processing these food scraps. If you want to come pick up compost, we are definitely still there. The market manager asked us to come back, and he was just like, community members have been asking for you, like, I need you guys back. And so he made space for us, and we came back, and we were kind of like getting back into the flow of things. And then, given that we're living in this reality, there were agents at a moment, they were outside of, not like in front of the market, like the market doors, but they were across a parking lot that's right in front of the market. It was very, it was very unsettling, very scary, just to be in that situation. But our farmers market staff, the CD9 office staff were very boots on the ground, very like vigilant. They were on top of the roof. They had their staff on every corner of the block, just like patrolling, like communicating with us, like, don't come outside, like we're gonna close these gates, telling community members, hey, just come back home, go back home, like if they were trying to enter the market. So they were very boots on the ground, having each other's backs in that way, and very proud of my community for stepping up. And I'm hoping that the agents felt that presence, and they fortunately did not like detain anybody, or they, nothing of that extent had to happen. And so in a couple of hours, they just kind of left. But that just kind of shows how we deal with this on a day-to-day kind of basis. So all that to say, farmers markets and like community gardens are sometimes the only access to outdoor and green spaces our Latino community has. Sometimes we can't travel all the way to national parks because we're so busy on our everyday grind. And even when we weren't able to be at the markets, we understood that, having access to food in the midst of crisis is way more important than trying to compost your food. So we knew that, sometimes taking a step back is okay. But yeah, so when folks can't travel, and we're limited, sometimes like if folks have limited access to go to even to join our community gardens, I feel like having a booth at a farmer's market is so essential, because not only are we picking up food scraps, but it's like we're a mini community hub to the public, where we can build a more personal relationship through conversation, where we can share our resources, we can share compost, we can share seedlings that are donated, and ask just, how are you doing? How are you feeling? you know, that we're thinking about you and we're here for you. So being present in these spaces is, I feel, such a powerful act of solidarity within our community. And we hope that us being present there helps to rebuild that trust that has kind of been, you know, lingering, and people feel fearful to be coming outside. So yeah, I hope everybody can stay safe during these uncertain times, and that we continue doing this amazing work that supports our Latino Indigenous communities. Thank you so much. And if y'all have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or want to connect or visit one of our sites in LA. You can definitely contact me at erica@lacompost.org. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks to all of our speakers for some really insightful kind of stories from the ground, and some really interesting lessons that could be applied. What maybe I'm going to take a quick facilitator initiative. I'll explain what I'm going to do. Follow me here. I know we're almost at the hour and some folks might have to hop off. So what I'll do here in the next 2 minutes is we'll go over contact information to like stay in touch and get in touch with us. I'll be pretty clear that Green Latinos California is going to continue these conversations, in future programming. So this is not going to be the first or the last manifestations of this discussion. But then after we kind of just like connect everyone to this information here, which I hope you all are screenshotting, we will for sure send this via email as well. We can, if that's okay for folks, we can stay a little bit longer after the hour for any questions or any things that might come up as well too, because I want to make sure to respect everyone's time. So again, we'll follow up with everyone's email. I want to make a quick note for Green Latinos to stay like involved with like the news and advocacy that we're doing around this. Is the best ways to become a member. It's free. And pretty much what this connects you to is with our events, with our virtual communications and our advocacy actions. So again, it's just making sure that you're connected to the information. And yes, Marianne, the information or the recording will be sent. So we'll also get you there in case you want to share it around. And also follow us on Green Latinos California and Instagram, because that's our baby account, but we're going to continue to like use that space to educate folks on know your rights information and other developments in this broader conversation. So yeah, that's want to wrap that up because I know folks got a hop, but if folks other folks can stay on, we can maybe hang out for another 5 or 10 minutes for any questions. Thank you, Mark. But yeah, and also thanks everyone for hanging in tough too for that whole hour. I know that was a lot of information, but I'm very grateful for this conversation, and we wanted to make sure we can hold both of our or many parts of our identities together during this hour. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Nicole. Thanks, Luis. Any questions for folks? Or how are we doing? Anything that's come up? Okay, very well. Well, maybe then to kind of maybe Olivia, I saw you come onto your camera. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too. I just put in the chat, I'm wondering if anyone else will be at the 30 by 30 convening next week, and if Green Latinos is going to have a presence there, or if you're tabling, or any of these other organizations are tabling.
I will be there. And I believe Nature for All is going to be there too.
Yeah, I was about to type it in, but yes, not myself, but some other staff members.
Yeah, Cal Wild will have a presence there. Mark Green, our executive director who just hopped off, will be there. We're not tabling, but we will have a person around.
Cool. Yeah, it'd be great to connect with other folks, other Latina or Chicano folks in this field during that time, but it's only a 1 day event, so might be kind of hard to figure out. But maybe we can, yeah, Pedro, I would love to have lunch with you or just connect. And thank you so much for this webinar.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll party after. But maybe we can pass it if there's no other questions, for folks who could stay, and for folks who are gonna be watching, this in the future. Hello, future folks. Maybe we could just like give our speakers one last kind of like closing thought, closing comment that's come up as well. For me, at least, I'll say, you know, there's a lot of different lessons to capture here, and I think we'll be following some of the discussions or some of the happenings from the political side and from the funding side of things, but also we'll be having some more like know your rights trainings and just like best practices for these continuing activities for folks in specifically in green spaces and kind of outdoor outings as well. So I'm definitely thinking that's might be really good for a future conversation. And you know, all this is going to inform our advocacy for the rest of the year. So yeah, thanks again. And we'll be doing a lot of advocacy together with these presenter organizations too. So yeah, this is pretty fruitful. And then also I think expanding the conversation to the California coasts might be also really interesting. But maybe we can go in the order that we presented. We'll go Andre, Margarita, and Erika to kind of close out with any last thoughts or comments or kind of anything else that this conversation has come up with so far.
Uh, yeah, one thing I didn't, explicitly say, but I think it was kind of alluded to just even in the us gathering here virtually, right? Where it's like we're just trying to make sure that everyone shows up for community and, given how much is going on. I think I'll kind of circle back to the point that I made in terms of, these land management agencies can only really be successful if they have partners. And so we need organizations like ours to be partners to the communities. That way the communities can actually be partners as well with these agencies. Because at the end of the day, we're all working towards the same thing. And as folks said, like we all deserve access to these places. So just keeping that in mind, and actually to, Olivia kind of brought up some stuff in the chat in terms of like making sure people are aware, and I guess just yeah, making sure that whoever we engage with, we also try to encourage them to show up in ways that they might have never showed up before.
Thanks, Andre. Margarita.
Yeah, I mean, I think something that I've been sharing with folks is I, on a personal note, like I refuse to normalize anything that like right now currently is happening. I think it's extremely dangerous to begin to normalize people being taken, people being terrified to leave their home, our parks being empty. I know of so many kids that, you know, they usually have their birthday party at the park, and a lot of birthday parties were canceled. A lot of kids got stuck at home in electronics because summer camp was not gonna be a safe option. So I think we're at Nature for All doing our best to keep ourselves and keep our community safe by sharing Know Your Rights education, creating a SOP in the case of an immigration raid while we're having a field trip or an event. Is real conversations that as organizations we need to have internally and be ready because pretending like, oh, that's not me or that's not going to happen to me is no longer an option, right? It doesn't matter anymore if you're a US citizen or, undocumented or not. It's definitely this, uh, this is happening to folks of people of color, right? And so um, I I look forward to working along our partners and holding our elected officials accountable. And yeah, I think this is a good time to show that you're a true ally to our community, and yeah, I hope that you guys are also taking care of yourselves because it's a lot between, I mean, at least I feel like between having to keep an eye out everything that's happening with public lands and environment, and then having to keep an eye out what's going on with immigration. It's a lot. It's draining. It's heavy. And so, drink water, take care of yourselves, check in on folks. We will get through this, but we need each other.
Yeah, we do. And Erika, do you want to close us out?
Yeah, so I just grateful in general just to be a part of this amazing network of folks that are doing great work to create to continue creating this access of green space for Latino, Indigenous, Brown folks. I do want to say that I really admire the resiliency in our community. We have a lot of power, and I know some folks at the moment, the fear is there, but I feel like it's still we're unstoppable. And I know that through organizing and coming together, we can definitely change and continue making this world a better place for everybody to live in. So yeah, just thank you to everybody for speaking their truths.
Yeah, and thank you to our amazing featured speakers. Thank you to our audience here that was hanging in tough and staying for this whole event. And yeah, thank you to all in advance for the work that y'all will be doing to make sure we're holding the line and protecting our natural world and our communities as well. This was like many ways, our community faces a lot of like steep hills and challenges, but also I think like regardless, we have always demonstrated amazing resiliency and community care. And, I think one way to phrase this is a marathon, not a sprint, as well too. And we need to be thinking about things in the super long term. So yeah, echoing the self-care, echoing the like rest up, and sometimes it's okay to unplug from the news, but we'll all be here, and thanks to our ancestors and ourselves and future generations too. I think we're really are onto something and can protect California and beyond. So again, on behalf of Green Latinos California, everyone, thank you one more time. And please take care. You'll hear more from us via email in a couple of days with the recording and more resources. But yeah, this is not the last conversation. So hope to see you all in the next one. And again, have a good rest of your day, everyone. So thanks.
Thank you. Bye.